Interesting trivia question. How many Grand Slam home runs has Gary Carter hit in his career? Does he have any left in that bet? You know, you were talking about the tennis elbow that you and Ivan Calderon are both suffering from. Is that a problem you've encountered previously?
Oh, yeah. This is nothing new, Pat.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the injuries I've had throughout my career, I've had major knee surgery. I've had a couple of broken thumbs, so this is nothing. I mean, this was something that'll definitely be resolved by the time the season starts.
Well, I think Richie is suggesting that maybe you're sandbagging it just because you've been through so many spring trainings.
No, it's not really that. I do love the game, and I would love to be out there playing, but I think that also it gives Tommy Reynolds the opportunity to look at the younger guys and stuff as well. He knows what I can do, and as long as I am healthy, then he knows what kind of performance I'll have.
Let's go out to Winnipeg, Manitoba. Doug is our next caller for Gary Carter. Go ahead, Doug.
Hi, Gary. How's it going?
All right, Doug. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I was just wondering, playing in Canada and playing in the United States and for baseball, actually, what do you think the major differences between the fans from Canada and then the States?
Well, I'd say that the difference really is just, if anything, would be the knowledge towards the game. I think that was some of the fallback on the Expos fans, is that they were more hockey oriented, and that basically they looked at baseball as being the secondary sport and didn't know all the insides to the sport, basically. But there are some good baseball fans in Montreal
I'll tell you,
as well.
they'd have to be pretty stupid if they didn't know the baseball, because, I mean, they've been watching it for 100 years.
Well, that's very true, but I think all in all, it's really just the knowledge of the hit and run, the little inside things, the stolen bases. I think that the fans of Montreal, for my years that I was up there and all, they want to see excitement. They want to see the stolen base. They want to see the home run. They want to see the well-pitched game and things like that. But yet, you can win a lot of ball games on just the little things.
Sure.
So I think that's maybe some of the things that they miss out on. But like I said, they've improved.
Now, you were talking about Timmy Wallach going from third to first. He was somewhat adamant initially that he wasn't going to do that. Does he seem readily acceptable to the suggestion?
I think he has now. Obviously, if there was a team that were to come in and would want him to come and play third base, then he would think differently, and of course I would imagine would accept a trade. But I think that knowing Eli, as we know Eli, he loves Montreal, and I think that he would really be resolved to the fact that it would prolong his career going over to first base as well. And this young Brett Barbary is going to really be some kind of a player as well. So I had a talk with Timmy as well, and I just said to him, I says, sometimes in an organization when they move you from one position to another, it's not necessarily a demotion as much as it is to help benefit the ball club. And I think in this case, with his move to first base, it just strengthens our ball club. Being that now Andres Galarraga is gone, and now Eli being the cleanup hitter that he's been, and he usually performs better in some of the even years or the odd years. He doesn't, I don't know what it is. Rich Griffin has all those statistics. But anyway, I really foresee Eli having a great year this year, filled with many home runs and RBIs, and he's got some good players around him as well. I think Delino DeShields and Marquise Grissom are going to really come into their own. Calderon, he's gonna hit because he's the greatest, as he proclaims. Larry Walker is going to also improve, and you know, a lot of people are going to take that lineup for granted. But I think with the coming of those guys and some of us veterans adding on, we're going to score a lot of runs.
No, honestly, I think it could be a very interesting year, and only because the precedent was set last year with both Atlanta and Minnesota, where, I mean, no one who was walking around without a white jacket on could have forecast that those clubs would have come on to be as successful as they were.
Right.
And I know this much. We had Claude Brochu, who, like yourself, is a very optimistic guy, even at the worst of times, but he's convinced in his mind that this thing can go. So it'll be interesting to see what does happen. Let's go out to Grand Forks, British Columbia. Now, I didn't know there was a Grand Forks, British Columbia. I knew there was one in Newfoundland, but we're going to try it out in BC and see what Brant has to say to Gary Carter. Go ahead, Brant.
Hi, Gary.
How you doing, Brant?
I'm good, thanks. I just want to say welcome back to Canada. It's sure good to have you back. I think you're a great role model for a lot of kids.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back, believe me. You know, after going through the last couple of years and being in a different type of role than I was for 15 years, it's just a pleasure to be back in Canada, where I was well received in the past, and I'm feeling that same feeling again.
You don't look a day over 30.
He does look good. That bugs me. He does look good.
Young buck.
Well, thanks.
What I want to ask you, Gary, is you hear a lot about the Montreal Expos and their farm system and how it's one of the best ones in the majors and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel like you're standing in the way of one of the young catchers coming up, the Darren Fletchers, the Gilberto Reyes, and what can you add to the Expos this year that they can't add?
Well, I think that really, as I had said earlier, it's just, you know, my experience and knowledge, and it's really to help groom the Darren Fletchers or the Gil Reyeses. And, of course, Gilberto Reyes has still got a suspension that is being upheld, I think. But if it does go through, then he won't be able to rejoin the ball club until June the 5th. And then another guy in camp who's a veteran and all as well, and Rick Cerrone. Really what you're looking at is to develop a ball club that you can go with one young catcher, and then the other catchers in the minor league systems, the Tim Lakers, the Bobby Nadles, the Jerry Goffs, and guys like that, they may still need some more time to develop, although Jerry Goff has been up and down from the big leagues on a few occasions. But I don't think I'm keeping another player necessarily from an opportunity to play, because really what you're trying to do is get a good blend, a mixture of young talent to go with some veteran talent. And I think in this case, they decided to go with me.
Well, it's as simple as this, Brant. You cannot win without having that experience in the lineup, and there has never been a winner that didn't have experienced ball players surrounding the kids who obviously are going to be there for a number of years. But your point is well made, because it's true. The Expos do have what is generally regarded as the best farm system in Major League Baseball. Having said that, the kid and I will be back. Gary Carter is here right through to 11 o'clock awaiting your calls. We'll be back after this time out.
Gave my son a Honda generator. It'll power everything from a sander to a saw to a whole cottage. Gave my daughter a Honda lawnmower. It has every safety and performance feature, even something called a hydrostatic transmission. And they gave me this fuel-efficient Honda outboard, powerful, quiet, and virtually emission-free, so it won't pollute the lake. Thank them. Even though they did it to get me out of the way, it doesn't bother me a bit.
When I head for the showers, there's only one shampoo and conditioner I take. Pert Plus. Sure, I've tried some other 2-in-1s, but with Pert Plus, I get better lather. And to me, that means hair that's really clean. Pert Plus beats them hands down. And these other 2-in-1s, there's no question Pert Plus conditions better. Pert Plus beats them too. Look, why settle for anything else when I get cleaning and conditioning like this with Pert Plus, a winning combination for great-looking hair.
Bobby Orr, behind the net to Sanderson, Orr! It's the 75th anniversary of the most exciting game on ice. Quality Video presents Hockey Heroes and History. Over 7 decades of unforgettable NHL action. Who can forget the birth of televised hockey in the 50s and the Montreal Canadiens' 5 straight Stanley Cups? The 80s brought us the Islander dynasty. The Oilers' reign to victory, led by the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Then came the great trade and a new beginning. Whether you're in the stands or on the ice, young or just young at heart, this is one collection you won't want to miss. Order now, and you'll receive this special edition complete with leatherette case. The NHL 75th Anniversary Hockey Heroes and History, exclusively from Quality Video. Here's how to order yours.
Visa, MasterCard, or COD. Call toll-free 1-800-563-4466 or send check or money order for $29.95 for 75th Anniversary Hockey Heroes and History video cassette, plus 7% GST and $4.50 postage and handling too. 75th Anniversary video cassette. Quality Special Products, 480 Tapscott Road, Unit Number 1, Scarborough, Ontario, M1B 1W3.
That really is an unbelievable stat. I mean, and a grand slam, I mean, you can't be expected to remember all of your thousands of hits, but you pretty well remember the grand slams?
I do. My first grand slam was off of J.R. Richard. My last one that I hit was off of Rick Russell. And in between that, I had ones off of, let's see.
This will be the test.
Yeah, Gaylord Perry was one.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah. There was a guy, Rick Matula, out of Atlanta. Let's see.
Let me just ask you about J.R. Richard, because you've twigged. Have you ever heard what has happened to him after his? I mean, it was bizarre the way he went from the top of the heap and then almost died.
Well, that's very true. I think he is still involved in the Astros organization somewhere or another, but I do remember him trying to even make a comeback into the senior leagues in the winter of 1989, but I just don't think that he ever really regained the same kind of agility that he once had. But Pat, I guess he's still doing all right. But you know, I
mean, that was really tragic.
Oh, it was very tragic. It was a stroke, and he lost part of his movement in his arms and stuff, and he did regain that. But what they were really afraid of was any ball that was going to be hit back at him, that they were afraid he wasn't going to be able to react to it.
Let's go to St. John, New Brunswick. Our next caller is Kevin for Gary Carter. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
Good. I'd just like to say I've been following the Expos for quite a few years, and I used to go up all the time when I was a kid, and I was there just last year, and there weren't too many people in the stands, but the atmosphere was great. So I was saying, since Montreal's been playing good in the Grapefruit League and you're back in Montreal, how do you think the fans will react this year? Will they come to the Olympic Stadium?
Well, optimistically, I'd like to say that they're going to be coming in droves. I mean, again, a new atmosphere, a new look, got new uniforms this year. Yes, we are playing well in the Grapefruit League, and I don't know if my return is going to bring the fans out, but if it does, that would be a bonus. But nonetheless, I'm just really thrilled to be back in Montreal. I think what's really going to produce the fans is for us to have a winning season. If we play well on the field and prove to the fans that we've got a good ball club that's capable of winning, then they'll keep coming out.
You know what I wondered when the Expos announced that they had re-signed you? Is this a long-term thing in Gary Carter's life? In other words, like, do you anticipate maybe being with the organization when the career finally ends?
Yes, Pat, that was all definitely taken into account. Even though there was no years in advance talked about, I just felt that being that home is right here in Palm Beach Gardens for the Carters, the training facility is in West Palm Beach. This is where we made our home when the Expos moved from Daytona Beach to West Palm. And we just felt that coming back to the Montreal Expos organization, it was going to enhance a lot of chances in the future, whether it be in broadcasting or whether or not it was going to be on the field in some capacity, whether it's coach or manager or something. Of course, Tommy Reynolds is at the helm right now, and I really don't have a desire to manage. I just feel like there's too much second guessing that's going on when you're a manager and all. So I would really rather stay in a front office capacity or, like I said, in broadcasting. So it could very well happen with Montreal.
Well, the people in the Rock will never forget Gary Carter. So let's go to Newfoundland right now. Springdale, Newfoundland. Daryl is our next caller for the Kid. Go ahead, Daryl.
Hello, Gary. Welcome back to Canada.
Daryl, thank you.
With the escalating salaries in baseball now, the taxation rate between U.S. and Canada has got to be a factor. Do you think that the high tax rate in Canada will lead to a demise of baseball in Canada? And do you think the Canadian government should probably exempt pro athletes from this high tax rate?
Well, Daryl, I wish they would exempt them. I think that that's one of the reasons that the Canadian baseball franchises have a difficult time in signing some players, although there's not the same tax consequences in Ontario as they are in Quebec. And unfortunately, the tax implications cause a player to lose about 10% more of his salary in Quebec, and you try to diversify as much as you can. You do get foreign tax credits. There's different ways that you can put your monies into some sort of DS, registered retirement sort of savings plans, or the deferred profit sharing plans, or different things like that. And I did that when I was up there, but I think some of those things have been disallowed. I don't know if they are still available, but nonetheless, you can do as many things as possible to try and keep from having to pay as much of the tax in Canada, but still, you're going to pay Quebec tax, then you're going to pay a federal tax, then you're going to pay a U.S. tax, and now you're finding out that there's a lot of state taxes that are coming involved too. You got a California state tax, you got Ohio state tax, you got New York state tax, and now there's Missouri. So each one of the games you go in and play in that particular state, you have to pay a state tax.
See, people were never aware of that before, but I find this just unbelievable that if the Expos are playing in Atlanta, that they're going to have to pay and that's the way it works. I mean, if they're there 3 games, 3 days, he will be taxed. But it's it's a problem. But you know what many people have suggested, that the Expos will never be able to contend because they'll never get the big shooters. But you know what? I think that any kid that wants to play Major League Baseball would play in the Antarctic. You know, to get the opportunity
I totally
to play.
agree with you, and I think that that's really what we're going to try to instill into the players, and I think that has happened this spring. Getting a guy like myself to come back to Canada, I enjoyed my 10 years up there, and I made the most of it. And I think I have to agree with you there too, Pat, is that no matter where it is, if it's Major League Baseball, be happy with it. Make the best of it. If you've got tax implications, if you've got a language barrier, if you've got a changeover of monies, if you've got to go through customs and things like that, well, just deal with it and just enjoy where you're at and just make the most of it. And I think that these players that are presently on the Expos are feeling that. They don't have the desires to go elsewhere and play for a team in the States or anything like that. I think they're really satisfied with being there in Canada. And again, I think that the Expos franchise has gone out of their way to really bring a ball club there that wants to be in Canada, and also to improve the stadium, like I said, to try and enhance the fan attendance once again.
Well, we had Darryl on just a moment ago. Now we've got his brother Darryl from Winnipeg. Let's go out there right now. Darryl, you're up for Gary Carter.
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Good, Darryl. How are you?
Dad, this is an absolute dream come true talking to you. You are my biggest hero. I look up to you totally. And me playing baseball now, when you were a teenager, who were your baseball heroes? Who would you look up to?
Well, number one would have to have been Mickey Mantle. I think that was just about everybody's idol growing up in our era. I just tried to emulate him in every way that I could.
Mine was Ty Cobb.
Yours was Ty Cobb. Now you're dating yourself, Pat. I would say that, you know, and of course, growing up in Southern California, I was a big Dodgers fan. And of course, I liked the Willie Davises and the Maury Willses, and then of course the pitchers and Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale. But if there was one player that I always really admired, it would have been Mickey Mantle. Willie Mays was a great player. Henry Aaron was a great player. But everybody's favorite had to have been Mickey Mantle.
Well, he had so much charisma, and it's funny that he should have been your idol because, of course, you're endowed with it too. You know who I always felt sorry for? This is straying off the Gary Carter topic. I always felt sorry for Roger Maris. I mean, here's a guy that had a terrific major league career. I don't think he's ever going to make the Hall of Fame. Will Gary Carter make the Hall of Fame?
Well, I don't know about that, Pat. That would be a great honor if that day ever did come.
Well, you have the numbers to do it. Why would there be any doubt in your mind that you will make him?
I don't know. There's a lot of politics sometimes, and maybe somebody might get rubbed the wrong way. But I've always tried to be as accommodating as possible to the press, not thinking that one day that was going to happen, but I was taught a long time ago that it was very important in our profession to try to accommodate the press as much as possible. And somebody asked me the other day what I was not going to miss that much once I do retire, and I said it was going to really be the talking to the press in the manner that Gary Carter is looked at and perceived as, is that I always try to get the attention for the press or try to get the cameras and things like that. And I really don't try to
No, but you know what, though?
that.
I think that came to the fore in New York. I mean, I've been around the Canadian scene for 35 years, and I never heard it said once until you got to New York.
Right.
And then New York, of course, which is a, you know, a very critical place.
Right, right.
To me, that's where it all started.
It might have, but it also started a little bit in Montreal, and as I left, and like I was trying to grab all the attention and all, and really that's one of the things that I will not miss. But I try to accommodate the public relations guy and try and do the best I can, because the press need to do their job as well. And so in so doing, I just try and give them a few quotes here and there and try and make them happy.
Well, let me tell you, I appreciated it, and so did everybody that I know. In any event, Gary Carter is our special guest tonight on It's Your Call, and we'll be back with more of yours right after this.